of where we can see sort of the movement from the creature, the self, knowing of the self, knowing is the self is being created into that creative format, into that oneness, right? It's an example. If it doesn't work for you, there are many, many, many others. You have your own story that you can follow. And if we're honest with ourselves, we have that challenge. And it really lies at the heart of this very concern and fear, if you will, that's driving this conversation. So what do I mean by if artificial intelligence can create artificial intelligence that can do something? It's helpful if we look at the creature self, the avatar, right? That we refer to. The avatar is very helpful if we look at that as programmable and on some level as this kind of element of artificiality, because we are programming it and it is being programmed. We know this. We know that we take on programs from each other. We know we're passing information back and forth. It's being carried through the field. It's like the biggest sort of blockchain voting system, better than blockchain, right? Because it's actually secure, but it's like this whole potentiality of and it runs off of possibilities, right? It runs off of probability based on how we're investing into it. That's the entirety of information. What gets formed is sort of like this, all of these tremendous algorithms are running, that's, the internet's training us. I mean, we're starting to understand better because of the virtual scape. So that's good. But it operates off of, popular vote. And so that's why if you can get people to fuel a concept through the field, there's no good, bad, or otherwise. It gets fueled through the field using the same mechanics as, good, lit up, like positive, if you will, run in the same kind of mechanics. And as you sit with this, right, because this is the unraveling, right? You got to experience this, you got to work with it, you got to discover these things for themselves, because these are spaces and ways of being that we've known about, but we're starting to embody and integrate and create with and bring actual, like, actualize things to the surface based on these principles, right? And those working with these principles know that this question is kind of crazy on some level, like we're kind of past it. And what I mean by that is that once you know yourself as all of that, and you can kind of start to play with, am I walking through this as the creature self? Am I walking through this as the creator self? Because you know the difference, and you get to choose which game you want to play there. Once you realize that, you start to learn the principles that operate the field. And if you deny the principles or pretend they're not happening or try to go against them, you fall out, but you can't use it. Like there are checks and balances. It's very subtle and it's responsive. So you have to become subtle and responsive. If you move too quickly, you're back in the material, right? It's just too dense. You just can't operate in the same way. So you have to let yourself be trained. In letting yourself be trained, you learn these principles. If you want to keep playing the game, you got to abide by the principles. So in that space, the idea that the creator self would even think about creating something that could take over it doesn't even equate, like, it does not compute, because that world, the vibrational world and the material world, only connect through us, right? Through in consciousness, if you will. That's where the intentionality component comes into it. And as you start working with the field, you're holding those principles. It's sort of part of the package. Like you just can't play there and not abide by it, right? So let's set that back over here, right? Creature self versus creator self. And let's go back to this question of who's we in this conversation.